Okay.
Yes.
Shall I start?
Yes.
ॐ दक्षिणस्य समारम्भा शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमा अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्ता स्मर्या गुरुपरम्परा श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः परिज्ञानाश्रम श्रीगुरुशङ्कर परिज्ञानाश्रम शङ्कर सद्गुरु केशववामन कृष्णपाण्डुरङ्ग आनन्द परिज्ञान गुरु सद्यो जात शङ्कर सद्गुरु गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ नमो भगवते वैवस्वताय मृत्यवे ब्रह्मविद्याचार्याय नचिकेतसे च. So yesterday, in the last session, we started with the very first chapter, the first Adhyayya of Kathopanishad. And as I said, the Kathopanishad has two Adhyayas, and in each Adhyaya there are three vallis or three sections. So totally we have six vallis, two Adhyayas divided over six sections or six vallis. And here the first valli, the entire first valli, and the first 17 verses of the second valli are only talking about a particular story. And this story is the story of how Nachiketa, the Shishya of Kathopanishad, reaches Yamaloka and how he gets this teaching, this knowledge, this Brahmavidya from his teacher, that is Yamadharmaraja. So Yama, or the god of death, is the guru here, and Nachiketa is the Shishya here. And now we saw yesterday this particular Akhyayika, or the story of Nachiketa, where it was told, it was described in the Upanishad itself. See, we have to understand that sometimes, see, some Upanishads start from the very first verse itself, the Brahma Vidya itself starts. The very first verse itself, the Shishya has approached the Guru and the Shishya is asking his particular question. What is it that by knowing which everything is known? What is this Brahman? It is directly the questions are asked in the very first verse itself. Whereas there are certain Upanishads where initial chapters are dedicated for Upasana. Like there is an Upanishad called Chandogya Upanishad, where the very first entire five chapters out of the 8 chapters, 5 chapters are dedicated to Upasana, and the teaching actually of Tattvamasi or the Vedantic teaching starts only in the 6th chapter. There are certain Upanishads where the first section or the first initial few verses are dedicated to a particular story where the Guru and the Shishya are brought together. And there are some other aspects like the glory of Brahma Vidya, the need for a teacher, the need for an acharya in this particular jnanam, that a Shishya cannot get this knowledge independently. Even if the Shishya is qualified for this knowledge, he cannot get it independently. Shastra is the pramanam, which has to be used by the Guru, which has to be meted out by the Guru, and the need for a Guru. And what is the Swarupam, or what are the characteristics of a Guru? What are the characteristics of a Shishya? What is the Adhikaritvam that is required? All these things are talked about in the introduction. So sometimes in certain Upanishads, the introductory portions, which are in the form of a story, or if not a story, the initial introductory part of the Upanishad may go over a few verses. And Kathopanishad is one of such Upanishads where we'll find that the entire first section or the first valley of 29 verses and the first 17 verses of the second valley are dedicated to this Akhyayika. We can have a similar kind of a comparison with Bhagavad Gita also. The 72 verses, 78 verses, actually, no, 72 verses of the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, along with the first 10 verses of the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, only talked about the war situation and bringing together of Krishna and Arjuna as the Acharya and the Shishya. And the actual teaching of Ashocyan Anvashochastvam started only in the 11th verse of the second chapter. Similarly, here also in Kathopanishad also, what we are seeing now is the very story part or the Akhyayika part where the Shishya Nachiketas is now described as to what kind of an adhikari he was, how he reached the Yamaloka. Now, this Akhyayika has to be taken at the face value. We cannot question certain things. How did he go there and how did he meet Yama? It is just that this story is a background for bringing the Shishya and the Guru together. So now what happened? What did we see yesterday in this Akhyayika? That Nachiketa, our hero here, our Shishya, who gets this knowledge, through whom we also get this knowledge from Yamadharmaraja. This Nachiketa is the son of a very famous Vaidika called as Vajashravasaha. And this Vajashravasaha is well known for having conducted various yagas and yajnas and was very famous for distributing large quantities of Vajaha, means food, as Danam to the people, to the society. So Vajashravasaha was conducting this particular yajna, which was called as the Vishwajit Yagna, in which Vajashravasaha had to give everything that he owned, whatever he had. And what was the purpose of his doing this yajna? He was desirous of attaining higher lokas. He was desirous after death of attaining the Swarga Loka or higher lokas. And with this desire, as a Sakama Karma, Vajashravasaha was doing this yajna. And he had his son, who was a Kumara, maybe of the age of 8 or 9 years, Nachiketas or Nachiketa, who was actually a very bright and an intelligent son of this Vajashravasaha. And it is said that in the Akhyayika means the story, our Nachiketa suddenly realized that the dakshinas that were meant to be given to the Ritviks or the presiding, priests of this yajna were nothing but some old and almost about to die useless cows. And Nachiketa felt that my father is doing this yajna with a certain intention of getting higher lokas after death. And giving this kind of a danam to anybody, which becomes a burden for a person rather than a boon to a person. Any danam that is given should be useful to the person who receives it. For the receiver, it should be useful. Whereas these kind of cows, probably the person who receives these cows may have to look after those cows, and these cows will be of no benefit. They'll be more of a burden to the person who has received. And therefore, he feels that probably I also, being the son of my father, probably my father could send me to somebody instead of these cows, so that I could have been more useful if I was given away in dana to one of these ritviks. Probably I could have served him better. And this kind of a danam, which is nothing but a useless burden on the person, on the receiver, this can push my father into lower lokas or darker lokas. And the very purpose for which my father is conducting this yaga or yajna, it may not be successful at all. So, having come over by the Shraddha, it shows that Nachiketas was a child with a lot of Shraddha in the Shastra, and he knew that what kind of fallacies or what kind of faults in the yaga can lead to not getting the results desired. Nachiketa's father desired higher lokas, Swarga Loka, out of this Vishwajit Yagna. But then Nachiketa felt that maybe the way the father was distributing these cows, it could only go against him. And then he went and asked the father, Hey Tata, hey father, who are you going to give me to? He did not say, You are giving such cows. Why are you giving such cows? How will they be useful to the receiver? All these questions he did not ask. He only felt that probably he could be a better danam to somebody and serve whoever he goes to better. And he went and asked him, Hey Tata, hey father, to whom are you going to send me? To whom are you going to give me away in danam? And having asked this 3 times, the father got irritated. And in the middle of the yaga, as the dakshinas were being given, Vajashravasaha blurted out in impatience and anger and said that, Nachiketa, I am going to send you to the Lord of Death, to Yama. Now, Nachiketa took it very seriously. Seriously, in the sense, he felt that maybe if my father wants me to go to Yamadharmaraja and be of service to Yama, then it must be real and I must go there. But in what way can I be useful to Lord Yama? Lord Yama is a Devata. He is there in Swargaloka, in a higher Loka, and he must be having enough number of people to serve him. In what way can I be useful to Yamadharmaraja? Why has my father sent me there? And I am not such a useless student, also. I have been a good Shishya to my father, a good son to my father. Sometimes I may not be the very best, but I am definitely not a Adhama Shishya, not an Adhama Putra. I have always been a good Shishya and a good son to my father. So, what could be the reason or what kind of a purpose can I serve if I go to Yamaloka? But beyond this, Nachiketa did not think of anything else. His purpose was to follow what the father had told in the Yagna or Yagashala. As I said in the last session, whatever is told or whatever is said in the Yagashala should be followed. No false utterances should be made in the Yagashala. This is one of the rules followed in the Veda Purva or Karma Kanda. And therefore, Nachiketa gets ready to go to Yamaloka. And when the father sees the son ready to travel to Yamaloka, the father really feels sad that he had blurted out something unknowingly, impatiently, in anger. See, a Vaidika, a very, very famous Vaidika, such a person also can fall prey to impatience and anger, and he blurts out something which he should not have. And whatever he said, because he said it at the time of the yajna, in the yajna it had to be followed by the son. And because of the shraddha of this Nachiketa, he said, I am going to follow your words and I am going to go to Yamaloka. And hey, father, don't worry, don't feel guilty that I have to go to Yamaloka. It does not matter at all. You don't have to stop me from going. We saw that in the last session, in the 6th verse, we saw that. Anupashya yatha purve. Just think of the examples of your ancestors. Nobody in our kula, in the ancestors, among the ancestors, would have lied or given a false assurance in a yagashala. At the same time, pratipashya yathapare. Among your own contemporaries also you see that they are people who are following very strictly what is to be followed in the Veda Purva. And ultimately, whether I am with you or not with you, it doesn't matter because sasyam iva martyaha pachyate. Human beings and other jivas are born every moment, they die every moment. Sasyamiva pachyate, sasyamiva ajayate punaha. They die, all the jivas, they die like small plants which come up and die very soon. In rainy season, they come up, and after the rainy season, you don't find those plants anymore. Human life is also like that. And most important thing is, more important than by being with you, it is important that your word is kept up. your word that you will be sending me to Yama should be kept up, and therefore I am going to the Yamaloka. And Nachiketa is fully prepared. He consoles his father, he pacifies his father, and he goes to Yamaloka. Now, as I said in the previous session, many of these verses are not giving the complete story. They are very cryptic, a few words here and there. Then you may ask, how do you know that this is the correct story? We don't know. This is the story that Bhagwan Shankaracharya writes in his Bhashya. Therefore, we take that whatever Bhagwan Shankaracharya writes in the Bhashya is the truth, and that is his filling up the gaps. Because of Bhagwan Shankaracharya, in these 6 verses, whatever story has gone on, we are able to talk about it because this is how Shankaracharya explains the story, unfolds the story in his Bhashya. Now, what happens? Now, our Nachiketa has gone to the Yamaloka. But he finds that when he reaches Yama's house, Yama's residence, he finds that Yamadharmaraja is not there. We know how busy Yama is. He's always running here and there. And you know what is the job of Yamadharmaraja? Bringing, all the, the death. He's the in charge of death. Every minute, every second, so many jivas are dying. Therefore, Yamadharmaraja probably is the busiest of the Deva. And Nachiketa finds that the purpose for which he had come, the master to whom he had come to serve, this master, Yamadharmaraja, was not present in the house. And as per the rules of the Shastra, Nachiketa decides to spend whatever time is necessary till the master Yamadharmaraja comes. Now he has come as a servant, literally somebody to serve Yamadharmaraja. Therefore, he says that when the master is not there in the house, I am not going to enter into the house. And without the permission of the master, I cannot eat anything or I cannot drink anything. I have to wait outside the house of the master and I will wait till he comes. And after taking his permission, whatever he asks me to do, I will do. With that intention, it is said in the story that Nachiketa had to wait for 3 days and 3 nights without eating anything, without drinking water, without doing anything. He waited outside Yama's house to wait for Yama's return. And it took actually 3 days for Yama to return. And when Yamadharmaraja returned after 3 days and 3 nights, he found this Brahmana Atithi, this small young Brahmana Atithi, a Vaidika, sitting there outside his house and waiting for him. And probably the people of the house of Yamadharmaraja, the family of Yamadharmaraja, would have tried to convince Nachiketa to eat, to drink water and to have food and to rest, to provide him whatever is necessary, whatever atithyam is necessary. But then Nachiketa refuses because he says he has to wait for his master, and only after getting his permission he is going to do whatever is to be done later. And for this, the family of Yama, that is his wife and others in the family, are feeling very, very bad about whatever has happened. So as soon as Yamadharmaraja comes home after 3 days of his work and finds this young Brahmana Vaidika Atithi sitting there waiting for him, immediately his family members come and tell Yamadharmaraja whatever has happened. And what do they tell him? They tell him in the 7th verse, these are the words of the family members or the wife. It is said the wife or the family members or the minister or whatever it is of Yamadharmaraja talks to Yamadharmaraja and tells him this in the 7th verse. Let us see. Vaishvanaraha pravishyati अतिथिर्ब्राह्मणो गृहान् तस्यैतागं शान्तिं कुर्वन्ति आहर वैवस्वतोदकम्. So the family members of Yamadharmaraja say that a Brahmana Atithi is like Vaishvanara. He is like fire. Our Upanishads say that Agni or fire represents Brahmanas. Brahmana here has to be taken as a Guna Brahmana. Guna Brahmana means what? What is a Guna Brahmana? They say, it is said in our scriptures that Agni comes in the form of a Brahmana in Bhuloka. In the Bhuloka, a Brahmana is represented by Agni. And what kind of a Brahmana? Is it a Jati Brahmana or a Karma Brahmana or a Guna Brahmana? The Upanishads say that it is a Guna Brahmana. Now, what is this Jati Brahmana, Karma Brahmana, Guna Brahmana? That you have to go care of Bhagavad Gita, where in the 4th chapter, Bhagavan Krishna has talked about Varnashrama Dharma, Chatur Varnam Maya Srishtam. In that, I have very in detail I have explained what is a Jati Brahmana. A person born in a Brahmana family by birth, the one who has an advantage of the birth being born in a Brahmana family, he is called as a Jati Brahmana. A person who is doing the karmas of a Brahmana in the form of yajanam, yajanam, adhyayanam, adhyapanam, danam, grahanam, all these things, these are called as the Brahmana karmas. A person who is doing these karmas are called as a karma Brahmana. Whereas who is a Guna Brahmana? A Guna Brahmana is a sattvic person. And how is a Guna Brahmana described? He is a person with Shama, Dama, Tapaha, Kshanti, Arjavam, Shaucham, Jnanam, Vijnanam. This is what is called as the the lakshanas of a Guna Brahmana. So whoever it may be, a person who has got Shama, that is what the nigraha of the mind, the Mano Nigraha, Dama, Indriya Nigraha, Tapaha, the one who follows austerities, Shanti, the one who has got forbearance or titiksha, then Arjavam, the one who is very straightforward, Shaucham, Bahya Shaucham and Antara Shaucham, Jnanam, Vijnanam. That means what? The knowledge of what the Shastras say, and the person who understands what the knowledge of the Shastra means. Such is a person. These are the lakshanas of a Guna Brahmana. And the Upanishads and our scriptures say that in Bhuloka, Brahmanas are represented by Agni. Agni comes in the form of a Guna Brahmana in the Bhuloka. Therefore, here Yama's family or Yama's wife is telling Yama, Vaishvanaraha pravishyati atiti brahmano grahan. A Brahmana Atiti who is visiting our house, Grahan Atitihi, the one who has come, the guest who has come to our house, is a Brahmana from Bhuloka. And a Brahmana, a Guna Brahmana, of course, they do not know whether it's a Guna Brahmana. It's a Brahmana. We have to understand what is the meaning of Brahmana here means a Guna Brahmana who has got all these characteristics which I mentioned just now. So she says that Vaishvanaraha Pravishyati Brahmana Atiti Rupena. Brahmana Atiti Rupena. As a Brahmana Atiti, it is the very Agni who is coming to the house. And this Brahmana, who is in the form of Vaishvanaraha or Agni, is staying outside our house, hungry and thirsty for the last 3 days. And therefore, this kind of an Agni has to be appeased. So, what should you do? Tasya yetam shantim kurvanti. You have to quench this fire. Otherwise, it will not be good for us. If a Brahmana Atiti is starving, fasting, and going thirsty, sitting outside our house, he is nothing but a representative of Agni, and this Vaishvanara has to be appeased or he has to be Shantim Kurvanti. This fire, Agnihi, has to be appeased, and therefore Ahara Vaivasvata Udakam. So, how do you appease Agni? How does one appease Agni? By pouring water. What is the meaning of pouring water here? He Vaivasvata ahara udakam. Here hara udakam is there. Hara means we have to add ahara. He Yama, he Vaivasvata. I already said what is Vaivasvata. Vaivasvata Mrityu. Vaivasvata means the son of sun god. S-O-N, son of S-U-N, son. Surya Bhagavan's putra is Vaivasvataha Mrityu. Do you remember? Aham Vivasvanave Proktaha. Idam Jnanam. He said in the fourth chapter, Bhagwan Krishna said, this Jnanam I have already given to Vivasvan Surya long ago. So Vivasvan is Surya, Vaivasvata is the very putra or son of Surya Devata. So Mrityu Devata or Yama is considered to be or understood to be the son of Surya Devata or Surya Bhagavan. So, He Vaivasvata, Udakam Ahara. Udakam Ahara means please bring water to appease this Agni. Then is Yamadharmaraja supposed to pour this water over the head of this Atiti? No. Then what do? You do Pada Puja. It is said that how an Atiti should be treated. Whenever an Atiti comes, he should be invited. A Pada Puja should be done, and then he should be given Argyam, Achamanam, everything, and then he should be given water, and then he should be given food. That is what is said. Therefore, Yama's family says that please bring water to appease this Vaishvanara, this Agni, who has come in the form of an Atiti, a Brahmana Atiti. And we should not leave him. It is not good to leave a Brahmana Atiti without attending to him. It is not that the Yama's family did not want to attend to him, but Nachiketa himself did not want any kind of a service from Yama's family before he met the master for whose service he had been sent by his father. And then if this Vaishvanara Agni, who has come in the form of a Brahmana Atiti, is not appeased, he is not treated properly, what will happen? What can happen? It is said that some kind of a papa can be accrued. Just imagine, even Yamadharma Raja, who is a deva, who is a devata, is afraid of accruing papa by not doing whatever he is supposed to do. Now, an Atiti managing or taking care of an Atiti or the Satkara of an Atiti is one of the Pancha Mahayagnyas, which is called as Manushya Yagna. Taking care of an Atiti, sharing your food, sharing the space in your house with an Atiti is one of the Pancha Mahayagnyas called as Manushya Yagna. And Yama's family tells Yama that if this Brahmana Atiti who comes as a representative of Agni, Agni has come to our house in the form of this Brahmana Atiti. If he is not appeased, if he is not taken care of, so many things can go wrong. And what all negative effects can happen, that is what is being told in the 8th verse. So let us see. If a Brahmana Atiti is disregarded and not treated properly, what can happen to the host? That is what is being told. And here, who is the host? Yamadharma Raja is the host. He is in a different world in the Swargaloka. He has different rules, but still then a Brahmana Atiti, he wants to honor and do whatever needs to be done as it is done in Bhuloka also. So this verse also tells us also as to how a Brahmana Atiti has to be taken care of and honored. So in the 8th verse, what can happen? What could be the negative effects of not treating a Brahmana Atiti or any Atiti for that matter properly? What can happen? He says here, आशा प्रतीक्षे संगतगम सूनृतांच इष्टापूर्ते पुत्रपशूंश्च सर्वान् ये तद्वृङ्क्ते पुरुषस्य अल्पमेधसः यस्य अनश्नन् वसति ब्राह्मणो गृहे. So here Yamadharma Raja's family says, in any place where a Brahmana Atiti is kept hungry for a period of time, various negative effects can happen in the form of papa. Many good things that are done earlier can lose their punya. A person who has done a lot of punya can lose his punya because of this one thing. This is the Vedic way of saying how to carry on the Panchamahayajnas. Now, one may ask, should you take this literally? This is what the Upanishad is explaining. And therefore, we have to have faith and trust in the Upanishad and see what can happen if the Atithi is not treated properly. What can happen? That is what is being told here. So it says, a person's asha pratiksha can be really completely destroyed. What is the meaning of asha and pratiksha? Are they one and the same? A person, asha means hopes. I do not know something what the future is going to hold for me. By hope, I hope that something good may turn out in the future. So, an unknown thing, an unknown good may come to me, an unknown thing may happen to me. That is called as anirjnata ishtartha prapti. Anirjnata means unknown. I have no knowledge of what is to come in the future, but I hope that whatever comes in the future is something good and something nice and something right. This is called as asha. Hoping for something good to come about in future, though I do not know exactly what is there to come in future. Pratiksha. Pratiksha means I know what is to come and I'm waiting for that. That is pratiksha. Supposing somebody has told me I'm going to come today to your house in the evening. What do? I know that somebody is going to come in the evening to meet me and I wait for that person. This is pratiksha. Pratikshanam or pratiksha. Pratiksha means nirjnata. Nirjnata means what? Known. That which is known, and I'm waiting for that known thing to happen. This is pratiksha. Asha is what? Hopes about the future, hopes about things which I still do not know. Anirjnata ishta prapti. That is what is called as asha. And pratiksha is about the known things. I'm waiting for the known things to happen. So he says, the Yamadharma Raja's family, the wife, minister, whoever it is, they say that if a Brahmana is kept hungry, Atithi is kept hungry, all one's ashas and pratikshas may be destroyed. All one's hopes of good things to come about in future, all the pratikshas of all the things that are known that may happen, all these can get destroyed by this mere act of keeping a Brahmana Atiti hungry. Whatever is punya is gained by sangatagam sunritacha. Whatever punya I have achieved by satsanga, by good sangha, by the sangha of Mahapurushas, the punya accrued by that also may be lost. If I have ill treated intentionally or unintentionally, if I have ill treated a Brahmana Atiti or any Atiti. Sunritacha, whatever punya I have achieved by good words. You see, the words have lot of power. My words, good words, can do or bring about a lot of good things to the listener also, and good words, that is what is called as Vaktapas. We have already seen what Vaktapas is in the 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. If you remember, Satyam Bruyat, Hitam Bruyat, Priyam Bruyat, Anudvega Karam Bruyat. That means what? Talking nicely with good words, giving samadhana to the other person. So, sunrita means good words. When I have used good words and good language, it is said that words or vak indriya is even more powerful than the mind. Why? There are thoughts in the mind which other people cannot read, other people cannot understand. But the very same thoughts in the mind can be expressed in the form of words, and these words are understood by people whom you talk to. And therefore it is said that Vag Indriyam should not be misused. Vag Indriyam should not be used to abuse others. If Vag Indriyam is used to abuse others, it is a great sin that one is encountering. It is a great papa, whoever it may be. It need not be for the Atithi only. For anybody, if Vak Indriyam is misused for abusing others with the wrong words and wrong knowledge, that can accrue a lot of papa. Because Vakindriyam, the Adhishtana Devata of Vakindriyam is supposed to be Agni again, and Devi Saraswati is supposed to be actually residing in the Vakindriyam. And when we abuse the Vakindriyam, it is like insulting or abusing the Adhishtana Devatas, Agni Devata, as well as Devi Saraswati. Therefore, Sunritam Vacha, Sunrutam Vacham. That means what? Sunritancha. Good words, talking good things, not abusing others, making others happy with your words, gains punya. So, by good words, I have gained whatever punya that can be lost when I have not treated a Brahmana Atiti properly. Then, Ishtapurte, that punyam which I have gained by Ishta karmas and Purta karmas. What are Ishta karmas? Worship, yagas, yajnas done with the intention of getting some material benefit for myself is called as the Ishta karma. Purta karma means all the social service activities like building temples or creating places where travelers can have some time to rest, or distributing food, or getting wells dug for the sake of people who are traveling. All these activities which are done for the sake of serving the people around us, serving the society, social service activities are called as the purta karmas. So it says that particular punya which I may get by doing ishta karmas and purta karmas, that punyam can also be lost if I have not treated an atithi properly. So much importance was given to atithi in our scriptures. In Taittiriya Upanishad, which also belongs to the Krishna Yajurveda, Taittiriya Upanishad, actually in the last chapter called as the Bhriguvalli, there is so much of sadhanas being talked about, where the atithi, how the atithi should be treated as the sadhana for, as a value, treating the atithi manushya yagna as a value for the maturity of one's mind, for making oneself capable of receiving this Atmajnanam, to be taken as a value. So it is said here that any kind of punya that I have accrued by doing Ishta karmas and Purta karmas, that punya also I may lose by not treating the Atithi properly. Putra Pashugimscha Sarvan, even good things that can happen to my children, my family, and to the cattle wealth that I have, that can also be affected by the bad effects of the papas, by not doing what I'm supposed to do. See, when a negative effect comes out of not doing what I'm supposed to do, that particular papa is called as pratyavaya papa. That means what? I'm supposed to do something, but I omit, either by omission or by commission. I do not do what I'm supposed to do. That can incur a set of papas, or a set of dukkha, or a set of in very inconvenient situations for me. This is what is called as the pratyavaya papa. So rather than getting punya, I get this pratyavaya papa, that is papa accrued out of omission or commission of doing whatever right thing I had to do. And atithi satkara is the right thing that is to be done. And by omitting to take care of the atithi, by keeping the atithi hungry and thirsty and outside the house for 3 days, definitely the person is going to incur, or the person is going to accrue pratyavaya papa. And this pratyavaya papa can come in the form of negating all the punya that I have accrued by sangati, satsanga, by good speech, sunrita vacham, ishtapurtam, and all my family and pashus and whatever my possessions are, they may be lost. And then sarvan, all these punyas that I have accrued, they can be lost. Yetad vrinte purushasya alpamedhasaha. Therefore, it is only a person who is alpamedhasaha, who is ignorant, goes through these things. Whereas Yamadharma Raja, hey Yama, you are not an alpamedhasaha, you are a devata. And here we have to understand Yamadharmaraja did not intentionally do this. He was busy in his work and he was not there at home when the Atiti came. And when he came back, immediately he saw the Atiti, and what is being told is for our sake. It's not that Yamadharmaraja does not know these things, but the family of Yama is telling him that by keeping this Atiti outside and not treating him well, can give our family all these kinds of papas may come. Yasman, okay, he said, Yasya anashnan vasati brahmano grahe. Brahmanaha in the house, anashnan vasati, without eating. A Brahmana who is in the house hungry, all these bad effects or papas can be accrued by us. Therefore, hey Yamadharma Raja, please do whatever is to be done. Please bring water, do the Pada Puja of the Atiti, give him water to drink, and then feed him. And then only let us see why he has come, for what he has come. So then what happens? Then the response of the Mrityu Devata sorry, yeah, sorry, yeah. So next in the ninth verse. So what does Yamadharma Raja do? Yama has now realized that unintentionally a mistake has been committed by him and he wants to make up for that mistake. Of course, he takes care of the Atiti, he does whatever has to be done, but then he wants to make up for whatever he had missed out by omission. It is not a commission, it is by omission because he was not there. Whatever harm has happened to the Atiti, he wants to make up for it. So, being a Devata, what does he say? In the ninth verse, he tells Nachiketa, तिस्रो रात्रिर्यदवात्सि गृहे मे अनश्नन् ब्रह्मन्नतिथिर्नमस्यः नमस्तेस्तु ब्रह्मन् स्वस्ति मेस्तु तस्मात् प्रतित्रीन् वरान् वृणीष्व. So he says, he responds, Mrityu Devata responds. And what does he say? He tells Nachiketa, he says, Tisro Ratri Yad Avatsi Grihe Me. 3 nights you have spent outside my house, in front of my house. How? Anashnan Brahman Atitihi Namasyaha. Hey Atiti, my prostrations to you. I ask for your forgiveness. He's an 8-year-old boy. And Yamadharma Raja, he say, Atitir Namasyaha. Anashnan Brahman Atitihi Namasyaha. I prostrate to you, hey Atiti. You have gone hungry for 3 nights waiting for me to come. Namastestu Brahman Swasti me astu. Please bless me, Swasti. Let there not be that Pratyavaya Papa for me. Swasti me astu. Let there be good, let good things happen to me. Let there be Swasti. Let there be Swasti means let me be happy. Please bless me that I may be free from this Papa. Namaste to Brahman. He calls this Brahmana Brahman. Brahman can also means Brahmana. Therefore, Brahman need not mean our Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. That is going to come later, after the second chapter, it is going to start. The teaching is really going to start. But right now, Yama is not yet the teacher and Nachiketa is not yet the Shishya. They have not yet change their relationship. Here, right now, Nachiketa is the Atiti and Yama is the person to whose house the Atiti has gone. So he says, hey Nachiketa, because you have spent 3 nights without eating anything, I prostrate before you and seek your forgiveness. Let there be well being for me. Swasti me astu. Please wish or please give me, please, wish for me to have swasti or for my well being. Please give me the Ashirvada that I may have my well being. Let there not be any papa for me. Let there be this swasti me astu. Tasmat prati treen varan vrinishva. And to make up for whatever omission I have done, I offer you 3 varas, 3 boons I offer you. Please ask for whatever you want. Because I have failed in my duty, whatever the reason may be. I want to make up for that. 1 vara for each night. 3 nights you have waited for me. Therefore, I offer you 3 varas. Varas means boons. And you can encash these boons. Whatever you want, you ask me. So, what is the first boon that Nachiketa asks? The first boon that Nachiketa wants to ask is for his father. He knows that the father was angry, upset with him, and without the permission, I mean, of course, he has taken the permission of the father, he has pacified the father, and he has come away to Mrityuloka. And the father must be very worried about what has happened to the son, where he has gone, how he is. So, basically, first boon that Nachiketa asked from Yamadharmaraja is the well being of his father. And just see in this Vara, in one vara, in one boon, Nachiketa asks for 4 or 5 things very, very intelligently. He says, I'm going to ask you the first boon, and in this boon, I want all these things. There are sub clauses in each, boon. He asks for certain things. What are the things that he asks? Verse number 10. In the first verse, Prathama Vara, what does he ask? He wants Pitru Paritosha. Means what? Pitru Paritosha means what? He wants happiness for his father. He wants his father to have peace of mind, which he knows he'll not be having now. He'll be worried what has happened to his 8-year-old boy. So, what does he say? What is the first vara that he asks for? Nachiketa says, Shanta Sankalpaha Sumana Yatha Syad वीतमन्युर्गौतमो माभिमृत्यो त्वत्प्रसृष्टं माम् अभिवदेत् प्रतीत ये तत्त्रयाणां प्रथमं वरं वृणे. So these things he asks in the Prathamam Vara. He says, Prathamam Varam Vrine. This is the first boon that I want for myself. What is this? It is about my father. And here the name of the father is given as Gautama. He says, Gautamo Mabhihi Vitamanyuhu Bhavet. Second line. So Gautama, see, just like many of us have many names. So there are many names in our Vedic tradition. Many of these people have multiple names. Vajashravasaha is one name. Gautama is another name for the same Vajashravasaha. Then Arunihi Uddhalaka is also another name which is going to come in the next verse. So these are all the various names for his father. So Nachiketa says, Gautama, my father, let him be Vitamanyuhu. Let him be free from his anger towards me. He was impatient and angry towards me. Let him be free from his anger. And I have said that I am going to go and I have come away. Though he has asked me to go, I have come away without even waiting for him to settle down with his anger. Therefore, Gautamaha Mabhihi towards me. Vita Manyuhu Bhavet. He Mrityo. He Mrityo, let my father not be angry with me anymore. Then what should he be? Shanta Sankalpaha. Let him be free from any disturbance of the mind. Let him be free from any kind of a restlessness. Let him be free from any kind of a guilt. That is what is called as Shanta Sankalpaha. Sumana. Let him mind be free, let him be happy. Sumana, let him be happy and let him be free. Yatha syat. So, what should my father be? He should be peaceful, he should be without any guilt, and he should be happy state of mind. He should not be worried about me, and his anger towards me, which was there when I left him and came towards me, that should also go. And then see, very intelligently he says in the next line, Tvat prasrishtam ma, when you release me from here and send me back to the Bhuloka. That means what? Already Nachiketa is putting this in his vara, in the boon. Hey Yama, you are going to release me someday. So whenever you are going to release me from, service, and when I go back, Ma abhivadet pratita, my father recognize me. Because when I go back from Mrityuloka, how my father will receive me? Whether he will think that I am a ghost which has come, or whether I am a person who is gone to Mrityuloka, so I have come back from Mrityuloka, so my father may not recognize me. How will I go back? Will I go back in the same form? Will my father be able to recognize me? So, Tvat prasrishtam ma abhivadet pratita, when you release me from this Yamaloka and when I go back to Bhuloka, let my father recognize me as his son who left and went to Mrityuloka. See how intelligent this 8-year-old boy is. In one Vara, he has asked for 3 or 4 things. He has asked. My father should be Shanta Sankalpa, that means he should be free of guilt and disturbance. Sumana, he should be happy. He should not have any anger towards me. Number 4, when I go back from Mrityuloka to Bhuloka, when I go back to my father, he should recognize me as his own son. He should know I have come back in the same form. He should not mistake me for something else. And in this implied meaning is Tvat Prasrishtam Ma, when I'm released from this Yamaloka by you. That means what? He's already telling Yama that you are going to release me sometime. I'm not going to be here permanently. I'm not going to be a permanent Atiti here. I'm going to go back to my home. Therefore, he says, Ye tat trayanam prathamam varam vrine. All trayanam prathamam varam ye tat. Out of the 3 varas that you have given me, the first vara is this. That means Nachiketa has asked for 4 or 5 things in the first vara itself. And therefore he says, please give me these things. So let my father be in a state of mind where he may be able to really sleep well in the nights. Let him not have any kind of an anxiety. So in the next verse, Mrityu or Mrityu Devata gives this kind of a promise and says that, yes, I have given you this first boon. And definitely, whatever you have asked for your father, it is going to be given, it is going to be granted. I have granted you the first boon. And what does he say? In the 11th verse, he says, Mrityu Mrityu said to Nachiketa, what did he say? Yatha purastad bhavita pratitaha औदालकी आरुणिर्मत्प्रसृष्टः सुखगं रात्रिः शयिता वीतमन्युः त्वां ददृशिवान् मृत्युमुखात् प्रमुक्तम्. So all these things which Nachiketa asked have been granted by Yamadharmaraja. He says, Yatha purastad bhavita pratitaha, when you go back from here, okay, that is Mrityu Mukhat Pramuktam Tvam. Mrityu Mukhat Pramuktam Tvam. That means what? You who has come out of the Mrityu Loka, Yatha Purastad, like before, Bhavita Pratitaha. He will recognize you as you were that time when you came from Bhuloka here. He will recognize you in the same form. He will see you, Dadrishivan. He will see you as the same Nachiketa who had left the Bhuloka and has gone back. So when I release you from this loka, your father will recognize you as you were before. Purastad bhavita pratitaha. Who audalaki arunihi mat prasrishtaha. That means what? Audhalaki or Aruni is another name. Uddhalaka, Aruni is another name for Vajashravasa. So your father Uddhalaka or Aruni or Gautama will recognize you when I have released you from here. He will recognize you as before. And what? Sukham ratrihi shaita vita manyuhu. All his anger towards whatever happened is going to go, and he's not going to spend any sleepless nights. He's going to sleep very, very peacefully when he sees you come back. Sukham ratrihi shayita vitamanyuhu tvam dadrishiman. Having seen you, when he sees you, mrityu mukhat pramuktam tvam. Mrityu Mukhat, released from me, having seen you come back in the same form as before, your father Audhalaki or Uddhalaka Aruni is going to sleep very, very peaceful sleep in the nights. Therefore, He Nachiketa, your first vara is granted. All the things, all the sub clauses that you have asked in the first vara are all granted. So he says, yes, he'll be Vitamanyuhu, he'll be happy, he'll sleep well, he'll be a Sumana, he'll be a Satya Sankalpa, and he will see you as you were when you left Bhuloka. He will recognize you as his son, not as anything else. With this, the first boon for the first night that he spent, Nachiketa spent without eating in Yama's house, that one boon, the first boon out of the three, has been encashed by Nachiketa. So now we'll go in the next session, we'll go to the second boon. The second boon is described for a period of 7 verses, about from 12th verse to the 19th verse. The second boon is described because there is some kind of technical aspects here in the second boon. So we will go to the second boon in the next session. ॐ नन्दन्तु साधका सर्वे विनश्यन्तु विदूषकाः अवस्थाशाम्भवी मेस्तु प्रसन्नोऽस्तु गुरुः सदा सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखमाप्नुयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ तत्सत्